Good afternoon, everyone. What a pleasure to be here in Windsor. What a pleasure to be with all of you today here at this incredible Stellantis plant. Avant de commencer, je veux juste partager mes sympathies, mes condoléances aux familles des personnes décédées à Saint-Roch-de-l'Achigan. Ça a été un accident terrible, puis on va être là pour les familles, pour la communauté. But I am really happy to be here today in Windsor at the Stellantis plant. I want to thank some of the folks who are with me today. Eric Krasmerchuk, who's our amazing local MP, who's been fighting every day for Windsor, for Southern Ontario, for workers here. It's just such a pleasure to be able to work with you day in and day out in Ottawa and know that there is a strong voice for Windsor there in Parliament. Also want to thank Mark from the COO of Stellantis North America. Thank you, Mark, for your leadership, for all the great work we've done together, for all the great things we're going to be doing together in the future as well. It's a really important thing to have Canada as a key player in the Stellantis family and in the Stellantis universe and vice versa. So glad to have you here. And I want to thank three Daves as well. Dave Allaire gave us the great visit here, and the manager of the assembly plant here. Thank Dave, the president of Stellantis Canada. Where are you? You're in the back there. There you go. Great to see you as well. And of course, Dave Cassidy, who's been a friend for a long time, sticking up for workers, putting everyone at the center of the great work that's being done here. Thank you, Dave. But I'd be remiss also to not thank Lana Payne, who's here with us, head of Unifor. Thank you, Lana, for all your leadership and all your partnership over the past years. But mostly, I want to thank all of you. It is you, the incredible workers here, the incredible folks who keep Windsor going, who make sure that if you want to make it in Windsor. As I travel around the world, as I'm demonstrating that Canada is a place where big things are happening, yes, we talk about the great critical minerals and natural resources that Canada has. It's a huge part of it. I was just in Saskatoon yesterday talking about the fact that Canada is a source of critical minerals and rare earth elements that the world needs. The world needs for everything from the automotive industry to the aerospace to healthcare to clean tech and all the advances the world is relying on in the coming years. Canada has them. But not just that Canada has them, because there's lots of places around the world that have them. The challenge is a lot of those places are becoming a little less reliable as partners, as supply chains, and that's where Canadians doing things responsibly, with great workers, with strong values and strong work ethic, but also strong labor laws and protections, making sure we're doing things right, making sure we're doing it with environmental responsibility, making sure that when customers around the world are looking to see if they're buying good things, because their consumers are going to want to know where it comes from, being able to say this was done responsibly, this was done an advantage. It's starting to be a requirement. More and more companies around the world are asking, so how was this made? Was it union from that right across the value chain? So whether it was in critical minerals and rare earth elements that I was talking about yesterday, or right here where the workers here at Stellantis, the workers in Windsor, are that competitive edge. Everywhere around the world, they're wanting to build top quality things, top quality products like this Pacifica. But the pitch that I get to make in the quality that Canadians bring to the jobs you do, the education, the ambition, the hard work, the generations of building things well in Canada is a huge part of why the world is looking to Canada. Because as we see the demand for electric vehicles skyrocket, the demand for clean technology, the demand for more and more future-oriented products and services and things, people are looking more and more to where those things are going to be done and built right. That's the advantage that Canada has. Yes, we've got great natural resources. Yes, we got trade deals with 2/3 of the global economy. We're the only G7 country with a free trade deal with every other G7 country. But at the same time, our greatest advantage is all the youth. So that's why I wanted to start off by thanking you, because I wouldn't be here if it wasn't recognized across the industry and around the world that this is a place and you are people worth investing in. Because let's be honest, the world is changing, and it's a little bit destabilizing. We see massive shifts going on, leaving aside even the invasion of Ukraine by Russia and the challenges that's putting on the global energy and food situation. Leaving aside the challenges of the pandemic that has disrupted supply chains and left us with both higher inflation and higher interest rates. There's a lot of things to be anxious about. But at the same time, those of us here in Canada have a lot to be optimistic about as well. Because our capacity to get through these tough times, well, we've demonstrated it. Years over the past decades. What do we do when times get tough? We pull together. We lean on each other. We're there for each other. We roll up our sleeves and we lean in. And that's what we're doing right now. That's what all of you have been doing through some challenging years here in Windsor. But we're seeing that that's starting to pay off now. As we see that the world is shifting towards more reliable partners, towards more responsible partners, Canada is at the front of the line. And that's what we're going to continue to work hard to do. And it's obviously something we're feeling in the automotive sector. The kinds of investments we're seeing in the critical minerals, battery supply chain, EV supply chain. And tomorrow I'm going to be up in Shawinigan talking about hydrogen investments and talking about charging stations we're building. We're seeing the whole meal deal here in Canada. We go from A to ZEV in Canada, and that capacity to do that is something that we've been working on together over these past years. So being able to be here today to highlight that for all Canadians, to show that there are good jobs, good middle-class jobs in the years and decades to come that people are going to be able to access in the energy sector, in the natural resources sector, but also in our cities, in our services, and those good blue-collar jobs that'll be there as Canada demonstrates that we're able to step up and deliver more and more of what the world needs. So yeah, there's reasons to be anxious about all the changes going on around us in the world. There's also so many reasons to be optimistic about our capacity to do what Canadians have always done. Step up and meet the moment and build a better future, not just for ourselves, for our kids, for our communities, for our country, and yeah, even for the world. Notre capacité en tant que Canadiens de répondre aux moments dans lesquels on est en train de vivre, d'être à la hauteur des défis et de démontrer comment on va bâtir un monde meilleur, en commençant par nos communautés ici, nos travailleurs ici. C'est ce que tous les pays au monde voudraient voir, mais ce qu'on est en train de démontrer comme étant possible ici au Canada. Vous savez, je reviens la semaine passée d'un voyage au Mexique où on a parlé de l'ALENA. J'ai parlé avec le président Biden, j'ai parlé avec le président López Obrador du Mexique. And I can tell you, the opportunity to sit down with the Mexican president and the American president to talk about how we are building in North America, not just supply chains, but value chains that are going to be competitive with the entire world, and indeed put forward solutions that the world is needing, is really, really exciting. We're doing that by sticking up for free trade. You guys will all remember the uncertainty of a few years ago where we all pulled together. Members from labor, members from business, we all pulled together with governments to make the case to protect NAFTA and strengthen it, and we were able to do that. And now we're going to continue to do that work as we protected the North American EV supply chain, which, of course, was a challenge just last year. And we stood up for steel, we stood up for aluminum. We're going to continue standing up for workers every step of the way. So like I say, I know families are going through tough times right now. I know it's not always easy. But I also know that you know that Canadians know there's a lot of reasons to be confident about the coming years, to continue being true to who we are, open, optimistic, hardworking, and excited about the challenges and the opportunities that the years ahead are going to bring us. And every step of the way, we'll do what we always do. Be there for each other, lean on each other, support each other, and show the world how it's done. And I'm so pleased today to be here to do it with all of you at Stellantis. Merci beaucoup, mes amis. Thank you so much. Now, very happy to take some questions from media.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Merci for media. Nous avons 7 minutes pour les questions des médias. The first question will go to CTV. Veuillez approcher les microphones pour que vos questions soient entendues. Please approach the microphone to make sure your questions are heard.
Thank you very much, Prime Minister, for taking our questions. I'm Michelle Molesky from CTV Windsor. This is on the healthcare deals with the provinces. Yesterday, when you were in Saskatoon, you said that there was positive news coming in the very near future. Today, this morning, your health minister said that there was still a fair amount of work to be done. So which is it? Where are we at in terms of that deal?
We've been doing a lot of hard work over the past months in recognizing, first and foremost, that Canadians need better health care. They need access to family doctors. They need better access quicker to mental health supports. We need to get rid of the surgery backlog. We need to make sure that our elders are being properly cared for. We need to make sure that our healthcare system is able to respond not just to the challenges that we just lived through over the past couple of years, but the challenges that are coming as well. And that's why we've been working with the provinces to make sure that as the federal government invests more money in healthcare, because we know that's going to be necessary, it's going to deliver real results for Canadians. I'm glad that the health minister is pointing out that there's still a lot of work to do, because there is. But I'm also very pleased to be able to say that I am confident that we're going to get to a good place, because premiers have been hearing the same things that I have. Canadians need better health care they can rely on. The federal government is there to be supportive and to make sure that that actually happens. And I'm looking forward to continuing our work and delivering for Canadians soon.
Next question.
Bruce Macaluso, Automotive News Canada. Prime Minister, the auto industry has called for a doubling of federal EV rebates, arguing that the current maximum of $5,000 simply isn't enough to spur EV sales. Is your government considering increasing the rebate for consumers?
We're really happy that we've put forward rebates to help Canadians buy electric vehicles, because more and more people want to be able to do it and know that as fuel prices continue to remain volatile, Canadian clean electricity is a great way of moving forward in the right way. At the same time, we also know that it's not just enough to support people in doing it, and I encourage provinces, a lot of provinces have been doing it, tacking on their own rebates as well. That's going to be an important thing to look at. But Canada is also putting forward some really ambitious targets. We want every new vehicle, a car to be bought in Canada as of 2035 to be a zero-emission vehicle, to be an electric vehicle. We've got a lot of work to get there on that, but we're going to make it. One of the challenges people are facing right now is really long wait lists for electric vehicles. We know that the demand is super high. We're going to continue to make sure we're investing in facilities that we've been investing in over the past year, and seeing big investments come into Canada in the zero-emission vehicle ecosystem to make sure we're able to meet the rising demand and the excitement Canadians have for electric vehicles, at the same time as we're ensuring that the electric vehicles they're buying are made right here in Canada by Canadian workers.
Follow-up.
Speaking of the proposed ZEV mandate, how do you respond to automakers' concerns that the proposed mandate is based on ideology and not realistic goals?
We know that the fight against climate change is important, but we also know that Canadians want to do their part in it. Canadians want to be able to buy electric vehicles. That's why the mandates are so important, but that's also why we need to make sure we're building up a world-leading ecosystem in North America to deliver those. And I don't think anyone ever faulted Canadians for being too ambitious. We have big ambition for where we want to go. We know, for example, that if you're charging an electric vehicle off of electricity that was charged in a coal-burning plant, like happens in so many parts of the world, that's not as good as when you're charging an electric vehicle off of a clean grid. In Canada, we've got an 80% clean electricity grid. And that means that when you're buying electric vehicles, when you're driving electric vehicles, when you're supporting workers in Canada who are building electric vehicles, you're doing the right thing. It's about recognizing, as Wayne Gretzky said, where the puck is going, not where it is right now. The world is going in that direction, and Canadians, we're not just going to follow. We're going to lead through it, and that's what people want to see.
Prochaine question, Radio-Canada.
Gabriel Nikunana, deux petites questions. La première, c'est sur les immigrants irréguliers. Il y en a de plus en plus qui passent par les bois au Québec pour se rendre aux États-Unis. Les passeurs se multiplient. Est-ce que ça vous préoccupe? Et comment faire pour enrayer ce phénomène?
Écoutez, nous sommes très préoccupés. Évidemment, le décès tragique d'un individu qui voulait se rendre aux États-Unis de façon irrégulière souligne à quel point nous devons de continuer à travailler avec nos partenaires américains pour améliorer la situation. On est en train de travailler sur l'entente des tiers pays sûrs qui va nous permettre de réduire ces passages irréguliers et favoriser l'immigration légale. Nous avons besoin de plus de travailleurs, d'une plus grande population au Canada, mais ça doit être fait de la bonne façon. Je veux souligner à quel point la province du Québec, particulièrement, a été extraordinairement généreux et présent dans ces situations difficiles. Nous reconnaissons le leadership du Québec là-dedans, mais nous voulons être dans une situation où c'est pas nécessaire, où nous avons de l'immigration régulière qui va pouvoir continuer à faire croître nos communautés et notre économie. Mais il reste du travail à faire et oui, je suis préoccupé par la situation et on est en train d'y travailler.
Suivi?
Deuxième question relative à la transition en Alberta. Daniel Smith prend pour acquis que le plan pour la transition équitable sera catastrophique pour l'Alberta. Comment pouvez-vous créer une relation constructive avec l'Alberta dans ce contexte? Bon,
la réalité, c'est que nous sommes là pour travailler main dans la main avec les Albertains, avec les compagnies, avec les différents acteurs en Alberta qui voient la façon que le monde est en train de changer et qui sont préoccupés par les opportunités que nous devons livrer pour les travailleurs. Ça fait des années qu'on investit énormément en Alberta dans la transformation de leur économie, dans la décarbonisation de leur secteur énergétique. Nous avons encore du travail à faire et nous sommes là pour travailler avec l'Alberta, avec les partenaires en Alberta et à travers le pays sur l'avenir que nous savons qui nous attend avec des bons emplois pour les Albertains et pour tout le monde.
Colleagues in Ottawa. A year after the convoy came to the capital, can you reflect on where you think the movement is right now? I mean, there is clearly a heightened police presence here. There are protesters outside. Do you feel the movement has grown? Do you feel it's abated? What's your read on what's happened over the past 12 months?
I don't know. I think that's a better question to ask Mr. Poilievre. He seems a lot closer to the convoy. My approach is very much on making sure that we're delivering good jobs and good opportunities for Canadians. We know that people are worried and even frustrated about how the world is unfolding around them. And as a politician, you have two choices. You can either try and amplify those fears, make people even madder, reflect that anger and that uncertainty that people are legitimately feeling because the world is changing in unpredictable ways, reflect that back at them without offering real solutions. Or you can choose to buckle down and deliver on the kinds of things that are going to make people feel confident in their own future, in their kids' future, in their community's future, in their jobs. These are the kinds of choices you have to make as a leader. Quite frankly, when Mr. Poilievre's best solution to inflation is to buy cryptocurrency, that's not responsible leadership. If people had bought crypto when he told them that was the best way to opt out of inflation, they would have lost half of their life savings. That's not a solution. What we're talking about here, rolling up our sleeves, doing the hard work, investing in good jobs on assembly lines like this one that are building the products that not just Canadians want, but the world wants, doing it with cleaner energy, doing it in an environmentally responsible way, and putting workers and communities at the center of what they do. Listen, there are always going to be politicians out there who try to, exploit legitimate anger and concerns that people have. But that's not the way to get something built. Crossing your arms and saying Canada is broken. It's not the way to build a better future for Canadians. Recognizing, we're facing tough times right now, but we're going to be there for each other. We're going to deliver, whether it's dental care for kids, whether it's support with the GST rebate, whether it's childcare to make sure that families can have the real choices to actually engage in the workforce or not. These are things that make a huge positive difference. These are things that the Conservative Party under Poilievre has stood against. So it can pay off to drum up anger and encourage people to wave flags. But if you actually want to deliver a better future for Canadians, you want to reassure them that there is a bright future for them and their communities and their families, you got to roll up your sleeves and do the work. And that's what people here know. That's what I'm here to do.
About a year ago, you called some of the protesters who came to Parliament Hill conspiracy theorists and people with tinfoil hats. I know you meant the protesters, but a lot of people feel like you call them people with tinfoil hats. Do you regret those words now?
My responsibility as a Prime Minister is stand up for people's safety, people's well-being in this country. That's what I did during the pandemic. I took some tough decisions to make sure that people were able to stay safe, they were able to hang on to their jobs, they were able to make sure we're not overwhelming our healthcare systems and protecting those frontline heroes by getting vaccinated. And at the same time as 80% of Canadians were stepping up to do the right thing, not just for themselves, but for their neighbors. There were people out there trying to scare people into putting their own lives at risk and their communities at risk. My job to keep Canadians safe involves following the science, following the best expertise of our public health officials, of our doctors. And I won't apologize for doing that. We kept Canadians safe through that pandemic. Canadians kept each other safe during the pandemic in spite of those who are mistakenly telling everyone and deliberately telling everyone that getting a vaccine was worse than getting COVID. It breaks my heart to this day to know how many families were sitting beside the loved one's bedside as they lay dying, saying, oh my God, I just wish I hadn't listened to all those nasty YouTube videos because my father, my brother, is dying of COVID because he thought the vaccine was more dangerous. So, no, I will not back off on making sure that we are keeping Canadians safe. That's the job Canadians asked me to do when they elected me Prime Minister, and that's what I'm going to continue to do.
Thank you. Next question.
Hi, Prime Minister. It's Jennifer with CBC Windsor. If you can answer in English and French as well for me. So auto workers here at this plant are on layoff multiple times, and when that happens, there's a trickle effect throughout the economy. And those layoffs most recently have been because of microchip shortages. So I'm wondering what your government is doing to fix that shortage.
I had a great conversation about semiconductors with the Mexican and American Prime Ministers just last week, presidents just last week, where we were talking about how we need to continue building up a really strong semiconductor microchip ecosystem across North America. Being reliant on supply chains from China, with their zero COVID strategy being a real challenge over the past years, but also with challenges around unreliability and political incompatibility, means that building up a strong supply chain here that will prevent those kinds of disruptions is really important. And Canada's already an important player in semiconductors. We have an extremely large plant in Bromont, Quebec, that is part of the supply chain and ecosystem for semiconductors, and there's more to do. And what we three leaders agreed on at the North American Leaders Summit last week was that we need to be even more integrated and more complete in how we are reliant on each other and not the rest of the world, so that our factories like this one, our assembly lines like this one, our industries across the country can rely on reliable partners and not unreliable supply chains around the world. L'enjeu de la reliance sur la Chine, de la dépendance sur la Chine pour les semi-conducteurs et les électroniques qui sont associées est un enjeu dont on a discuté la semaine passée au sommet des leaders nord-américains. Et avec le leadership que le Canada est déjà en train de démontrer au niveau des semi-conducteurs, on a une des usines les plus grandes en Amérique du Nord à Bromont, pour l'assemblage. Nous sommes là pour participer à une chaîne d'approvisionnement plus sûre, plus fiable, pour empêcher qu'on ait des interruptions comme ils ont vécu ici à Stellantis.
Of Canadian politicians, including 2 members of your caucus, have been urging your government since October to fast-track bringing 9 female former MPs from Afghanistan to Canada. 1 has now been murdered. Is your government going to take any action to help the remaining women get to Canada?
Our heart breaks for the people of Afghanistan right now. Canada has stepped up significantly over the past decades, including with the lives of a number of Canadians fighting for a better future for Afghan women and girls specifically. And we will continue to be there for the people of Afghanistan. We were there at the evacuation to bring people over. We continue to commit to one of the highest targets of all our allied countries, 40,000 Afghans to bring to Canada to safety. We know there's more to do, and we're going to continue working to make sure that the most vulnerable people are able to get out. At the same time, we have to recognize that the Taliban is not allowing people to leave. It's putting people at risk. So our ability to do that is extremely limited, but we're going to continue to be there for the Afghan people.
Next question.
I'm from CP. My question is, the commander of the Canadian military's Joint Operation Command has raised concern that Canada is not a part in a security pact between Canada's most important allies, Australia, the US, and the UK. And similar concerns were raised by the head of Canada's Defence Industry Association. My question is, why is not Canada a member of this group, this pact? And are you does your government want to be included in the pact?
Canada is a strong and proud member of the Five Eyes alliance between Canada, the United States, Great Britain, New Zealand, and Australia. And we do a tremendous amount of information sharing and security work together all around the world. And we will continue to, as we continue to share actively our challenges and our solutions. It is an extremely strong alliance, and it continues. The nuclear submarine deal that Australia worked out with the United States and the UK is a separate thing, but we're always looking to do more and deeper with our partners, either in the Pacific or elsewhere around the world, but Canada won't be buying nuclear submarines anytime soon.
My next question is Canada making any contingency plans in the event of a continued dispute in the U.S. Congress over debt limit?
Listen, Canada will always work to make sure that we are able to weather any storm that the United States deliberately or inadvertently throws our way. We continue to watch closely what's going on in the United States, but we're going to make sure that Canadians continue to succeed regardless of what happens down there. That's what we were able to do through some difficult years under the previous administration. That's what we're going to be able to do regardless of what happens in the States.